Hello everyone, we are live from Ozora Festival 2009 and 19, sorry. It's a time travel. It is in a way because we have a lot of anniversaries this year, so we are kind of coming back to roots of art and musical scenes and stuff like that. So I'd like to introduce my guests today, Vernon and Damon Soule, who came to us from California. They both abstract painters and many more. Part of the art collection or art group Furtherrr collective. And welcome, guys. Thank you.
Hi. Thanks for having us here.
Yeah. For you, it's the second time in Ozora?
Yes, I was here last year. It was my first year. And I did a painting at the Ambus stage. I had to do it all by myself. And this year, my collaborator and good friend Damon Soule is with me. And it's wonderful to have a partner to do the project with, also at Ambus.
Yeah, it's always nice to have a travel companion as well, no?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, especially in the airports and all the things. It's awesome to be traveling with your friends.
Especially if he doesn't snore too loud.
Oh. Yeah.
Okay, so I participated in your workshop because you came not only to do the painting but a really cool little workshop.
Mm-hmm.
So did more people show up because it was quite early in the morning?
Yeah, people wandered in. Nobody that specifically knew what it was, but just people who were wandering by that wanted to do something a little different. So yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. So how did you come up with the idea? It was a workshop to doodle.
Well, I've done a few workshops, and a lot of times, you're trying to teach someone something very specific, and doesn't really work in a festival environment. So I thought to try something that's just more fun, and so you can engage with people and meet new people and sort of draw together and laugh, and just something a little more lighthearted than.
Created these little books out of scrap paper.
Yeah.
And everybody could draw something and then pass it around, and somebody else continued the drawing.
Yeah, it's sort of like a little microcosm of how life is, anyways. But and it's a fun way to make art especially for people who aren't, artists or serious about making art. It's a fun way to just jump in and maybe it's not so serious, art doesn't have to be serious all the time.
Yes,
it can be fun too.
And it can create connections around the people as well, like this.
Yeah,
it's a good way.
And also, it shows what Damon did in the workshop, having people take these books and draw on them, and then have each of the people in the workshop pass the book to the next person. It's a little taste of how we collaborate together when we work on canvas, to not get attached to what you do and to be freed up to allow someone else to take your image and build on it and change it and add colors and forms, or perhaps even rub your finger over it with some other colors. Unexpected, beautiful things start happening in that type of collaborative process, where it's not about each person doing their own thing, but actually building on each other's moves and work.
Yeah, it might even give you new ideas, because sometimes I think for an artist it can be difficult to start to come up with the first brush stroke or.
Exactly. I mean, I noticed some of the people in the workshop might have started something, and then they kind of weren't so into it, or they started to be have some feelings that it wasn't good enough or not as good as the other person. But then as soon as the book got switched and went to someone else, that person had no problem in taking that image and adding to it and changing it into something else, and then the person who made that drawing feels free to take someone else's work and start building on that, and it takes away that feeling of all the weight of how it comes out is on your shoulders.
Yeah, and this is kind of what you do in your art group, the Furtherrr collective. Now you work on the same painting with other artists together.
Yeah, our collective that people know as Furtherrr consists of 5 artists, and when we do a big collaborative project, so we'll begin something and move to another part of the canvas, and then someone else will come and add to it, and someone else will come and change the colors, or it happens in many layers and stages. But the root of it is that there's nothing precious about what one person begins. It's all up for grabs as far as who can take hold of it and, you know, push it and pull it in different directions.
That's really nice.
Yeah, the preciousness of it goes away. Just doing this over the last 10 years has like taught me a lot about what is the important part in making the work. And for me, it's become more the process than the actual product. And when you work with people like that, you learn so much faster, and you also learn to not hold on to things so tight, because they could go away really easily, and it's okay, you know.
Yeah. And how do you decide when a painting is finished?
When we run out of time. I wish sometimes we could quit sooner, but it's one of those things. It's a little compulsive and a little you don't want it to end, you know. You keep going and going, and sometimes it could probably use less work, but it doesn't matter. It's the process. It's fun. It goes on.
Yeah, as Damon said, it's a process-oriented type of art, and there is no finished outcome that we see in our heads that we go after. So it's the journey is the destination. It's all about the you know, going through the steps and the stages, and all the while we don't have some idea what finished is. Like Damon said, when we run out of time, that's the end of the painting. And when we get close to running out of time, we just sort of switch our process to smaller brushes and tidying up the image. And that's we let that time limitation dictate like what the finished outcome will look like. The more time you have, it'll be a much more detailed painting, but I don't feel like a more detailed painting is a more finished painting. A painting that could be done in one session could be a complete finished painting. Like the work we are doing at Ambus, our first session was so wonderful that at the end of the very first session, I thought of it as a finished piece. In its own loose language, it was complete and balanced, but we have to take it on a journey. And after this past night's session, I also felt like it was a finished painting. We added a whole nother type of language, a more hard-edged language on top of the loose stuff that we did, and we balanced it and reached a point where I felt like that could be a finished painting at the end of our session. And we'll see what we come up with for today. You know, hopefully each night we can balance it so that we'll feel real nice about it at the end and not have a big can of worms opened up to have to resolve.
Right. How many days do you have left to work on the live painting?
Wednesday, Thursday.
We finish, I think, Sunday night.
Oh, okay. So you still have a lot.
Yeah, we're not even halfway through.
Yeah, maybe you could start a new one.
That's what I was thinking. If we had more canvas, I'd love to put up some more and just begin the process all over again. The beginning is the most fun.
Yeah, we've threatened to do that over the years, like where we just have a bunch of canvases stacked up and we can do one and then, you know, tear it off to the next one. Hasn't happened yet. One of these days we probably should, because you know, after a decade of it, we've gotten really fast and really we move through it a lot quicker than we used to. So
and one of the aspects of painting that I love so much is the spontaneity. And when an image holds the spontaneity, I feel like it's the most magical thing. It's like a child's innocence, to be able to handle the paint in a way where you're not attached to the outcome, and it holds a kind of a natural spontaneity that feels just free of all the mental stuff that you put on it, the controlled, contrived aspects of art making, where artists really try really hard to push it in a direction that they wish it to go. And we kind of relinquish or let go of that control and just let it happen. And that first session is always full of the spontaneity, and the image that comes out of that first session has ultimate freedom for me. So that's another reason why I wish we could stack up 7 canvases and pull one off each night to show people like how painting can be that free and open.
Yeah, for sure. And this whole live painting as festivals, I think it's really connected to the Psytrance festivals. And as I know, your art group was the first one to start this, the Furtherrr collective, like going to festivals and do live painting.
Well, our experience with live painting, I think, precedes this whole movement of live painters at festivals.
Mm-hmm.
When we were first coming up as artists, we had lots of opportunities to paint live, but it was never at a festival. I remember doing live paintings in jazz clubs and nightclubs and performance art spaces in New York City. Any chance I got, I would love to do it. I love that sharing, because the artist is usually by themselves in the studio all the time. It was a wonderful way to have a direct communication with the audience and the viewer.
Yeah, I was doing live paintings in the mid-90s in nightclubs and hip-hop clubs and stuff like that. Hadn't even heard of a festival yet. Yeah.
Okay, and yeah, I think like on a big festival, it was first in Burning Man, no? That they went and
Yeah.
and they did.
No, there's another festival in California called Symbiosis, and that was the first one where a couple of us started this collaborative thing. And then Burning Man, we did do a series of maybe 5 or 6 Burning Man collaboration projects. And as we kept developing this collaborative presentation at the festivals, we noticed that there is a whole movement of young artists who come into painting through loving music, being at the festivals, seeing the art, and then wanting to paint in that atmosphere. So it's interesting to me that there's a whole generation of young artists who didn't follow the traditional path of going to art school and looking at art in the world. They could kind of take it from inside of their own subculture and grow that way. I find that really interesting, how these artists come out and they travel all around following the festival, setting up their easels on the all together and outside of the art spaces. It's a real community. It's something I never saw as I was coming into the live painting scene.
And now you have connections with these artists, like as you said, it's a community. So do they travel together? They work together?
It sounds like they do. I've met a lot of them through being at the festivals, but most of the artist friends we have are not in the festival live painting world. We know artists coming from all different scenes and styles, and we've worked with many galleries and different types of like art world people and places, and there is an enormous art world outside of the festival painting world, and we find 99% of the time we are engaged with those other types of ways of making art and different types of artists. People look at our work, they'll notice that it looks different than a lot of the stuff you see in the Mirador, because our influences have a pretty vast range outside.
Yeah, you have
reaching in all different types of scenes.
For me, you have a very distinctive style, which is quite different from this general visionary festival art style. So I was very happy when you get invited, and because we try to bring something else. Like this year with the Vosarelli exhibition, we would like to broaden the kind of art that people can enjoy during the festival. So I think we are all very happy that you came and you put your own energy into it.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to be here. I like to surprise people, to show. It's kind of lifting up the curtain on a secret world. For the festival going community, it may be a secret world of art making where a lot of people don't understand, like, where does this style come from. But for us, it's just an assemblage or a construction of all the influences in art that we've had, and so it's wonderful to share that with the visionary art community, because a lot of them have not looked out of the visionary bubble. It's kind of a bubble world where there's like a limited number of influences, and it's all cycled and recycled inside of that world. So it's of great interest to me to poke a hole in the bubble and show people, you know, there's a whole tradition of painting that's outside of that, and a lot of it resonates with the visionary ethos, the type of mentality around the work that we do really resonates with the visionary world.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks so much for coming. I don't want to keep you longer because I know you have work to do. Finish the finished painting again. I really hope that you come back the next years as well. Bring more friends. We'll be happy to have them here. So thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. Everybody's been really sweet and lovely. Appreciate all the kindness here.
Yeah, people are wonderful. Everybody come down to Ambus to see our project and say hello to us, and look forward to meeting you all.
Thanks.